What's up, Bob?
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, buddy.
Episode 8.
Isn't it
Wow.
weird that I'm talking to you like we haven't been talking this whole time?
I know we've only been talking for almost an hour.
I know.
Then
But it's like, hey, Bob, I haven't seen you in a long time. How you been?
how you doing? It's like, but hey, you got to do it for the show. You got to do it for the
Right.
show.
Ooh, I got a little squeaky going on
This
there.
this is the show.
This for show. This is the show.
Show number 8. By the way,
Yeah, you
I'm
mentioned
super
that.
proud of that because once you reach that 8 milestone, you're onto something.
Well, apparently we've had an epiphany as far as where we're going with the show. So maybe that is true.
That's what took us the first hour was talking through that, making sure making sure we're giving our fans what they want.
Right. And we're actually doing what it is that we feel we should be doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Our audience, all three of them. But that's so we're building for the future.
We're two of the three, just so everybody's clear.
Yeah, right. So, okay, so what we did decide on is, we definitely want to spend more time talking about our passions, which is building our businesses, building our side gigs, our
The
hustling,
passions.
our moonlighting adventures, as some might call them.
I
Um,
like that you went passions.
yeah, passions. Well, we work in marketing, so we're all about passion here. Um, let's talk about our gigs.
Okay, let's talk about our gigs.
Yeah, and let's start with
That's
you.
what the kids are calling it these days, right?
They
Is
totally
gigs.
are. They're calling them side hustles or gigs or
Gigs.
when we were younger, I think the big term was moonlighting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
nobody
what we were
calls it that
kids.
anymore.
That's what we were. There was a moon. There was a moonlighting show, I believe, because there was like a. Was there a moonlighting show when we were kids?
There might have been. You're a lot older than I am.
I am pretty old.
You are pretty old. So I love to throw that in there whenever I can.
That was Bruce Willis's like first major gig. It was that
Yeah,
moonlighting show.
yeah, totally. Yep, totally. And I can't remember who the actress
You
was.
don't act like you don't know. Come
She's a
on,
big
you're
name.
old too, pal.
The only reason I know that is because I'm a huge Bruce Willis fan. That's
Yes,
the
yes.
only reason.
Okay, sure. Like
But
you didn't watch an episode. Sure, I got you.
but we got to bring that term back because I don't know about you, but I pretty much work on this when the moon's out. So
Yeah, moonlighting is a real thing.
yeah, it's a real thing.
There's a
Uh,
lot of people doing it.
yeah, so we definitely want to talk about that, and I want to start with you because for a while there you were kind of you busy with other things, life and work and all that other kind of stuff, and you kind of put things on hold for a little bit, and you had accepted that. You didn't like the results you were seeing from sitting idle for so long, but now you're kind of it's almost like you're coming out of winter hibernation, as they say here in Minnesota.
Uh, you're being kind. Here's the truth. I was being a little bitch. I was I was pouting. I was whining. I was unclear about what I should be focusing on. I was um yeah, I'm just being brutally honest with myself. I just wasn't in the right mindset. I wasn't focused. Yes, I had other things going on. Yes, there were sicknesses and family things and distractions, right, that had to be dealt with based on roles and responsibilities. But my mindset was not focused on building and growing a business at all. Um, take full responsibility of the downslide of trueidentity.com and loss of traffic and loss of focus on what it is that I am trying to build. So, that said, now that I'm done beating myself up, um, came to a realization this week that if I want that to continue, True Identity is not going to exist anytime soon. So, these recent Google updates have shown me that I have some work to do. They crawled the hell out of my website for almost a week. Continuous direct traffic as they were crawling individual pages multiple times.
Can I ask a question about that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know you've had that on your site several times over the years, but
Yeah.
in the past, what's been the result of that usually? Anything?
It depends on the update.
Oh,
Is the short story, right? So whatever they're prioritizing for that particular core update. So I can't really speak to the specifics. I will say it seems to be more optimistic than negative. Unfortunately, the trend for the last year and a half has been negative, so I don't know if it's going to be a good thing.
got it.
Still TBD. It's steady so far. So anyway, it lit a fire under my ass, and it made me realize, look, if I really want to do this, I can't just be pussyfooting around and sitting on the sidelines hoping that things are going to change on their own, because that's not how things work when you're trying to build a business. So I got back into the chair, I started working on the computer, and I started putting things together in order to drive it to where I needed to be. One is work on my business plan, because I have mentally made changes to the brand itself, how I'm going to position it, what I'm going to offer people. Two, I need to start building content again, and I need to refine my website and get it back to a place that is positioned well based on my new business plan. And three, I have to start building some products that are going to also support the new direction that I'm going with True Identity.
Mm-hmm.
So, all that said, I have spent quite a bit of hours versus how much time I've been spending on a weekly basis over the last year, working on building blog content primarily, as far as a plan, how I'm going to prioritize it, where I want to go with it. And I've started the initial shell of a business plan, outlined it. I have some initial thoughts, but I'm putting work into that as well. So I've drawn some lines in the sand, and tried to establish some milestones that I'm going to stick with. Again, this is me throwing a dart, so I'm going to have to ponder it a little bit more once I have a better idea and get my arms around all this. But I got to reference it, because if I start just throwing out dates and numbers, I'm going to screw myself. I can't speak publicly with making promises. I have to actually stick to it. Right?
I have a question though, real quick. So
yeah,
I saw a business plan you created. Oh, geez.
Oh, the original? Yeah.
20 years ago, like 2018, 2019.
Yep.
So is this
It was
new?
summer of 2019, I believe.
Yeah, probably 2019. Is this new one a completely new one, or is it a revision of the one you had previously?
It is going to be very close to how I was trying to position True Identity from the beginning.
Okay.
From a brand standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
From a messaging standpoint, if anything, it's expanded. It hasn't really changed. The core difference is going to be, instead of focusing the brand on retail e-com and selling apparel, which was where I was really trying to go with it originally, it's going to now be focused on downloadables, e-com courses, that kind of thing. So it'll be self-educational. I'm going to also be looking at doing team and business products as well. So that's been the long-term vision from the get-go, but it hadn't been fleshed out, and I'm in the midst of doing that now.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So I'd like to get the final draft for the business plan of where I want this puppy to go over the next 5 years is what I'm going to attempt to break out by the end of May. So I got a month and a half to get that done. In addition, I will be looking at updating the website to incorporate that new business direction. Mm-hmm. That includes content updates, pages being added or deleted, blog posts being repositioned, and new blog posts being created. And I'd like at least the core pages of the brand to be done by the end of September. And I'm hoping to get this, again, I have to flesh out a little bit more, 150 new blog posts done, 5 per week by the end of the year. I'm going hard.
Oh, That is super hard.
Yep. And the thing is that the reason I'm feeling optimistic about all of this is I'm going to try to automate as much as I can. I've been spending a lot of time in ChatGPT. I love the updates that they've made to their core models, and I'm spending more time in Gumloop. I'm going to try to automate the shit out of this stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping it's going to take me, 80% there with at least the blog posts. So I'm not spending a ton of time on them on a daily basis.
5 per week. If you do that, you're going to break some Bob Stanky publishing records.
So based on this content production plan that I've been working on in ChatGPT, it is estimating about 300 to 350 blog posts that it would produce on all of these hierarchy topics and buckets. And in order to get that done in a timely fashion, so I'm not dinking around, I got to get it done in a year and a half. So that would be by the end of next year. Get all of them drafted, because once they're published, then I have to prioritize updating them on an annual basis.
Yeah.
So that updating will begin May of next year.
Got it. Yep.
So I'm going to have to incorporate as many new posts in the next 12 months as I can, which is why I'm prioritizing 150 and going hard, because that's only, what is that, 40, 45%, whatever it is, of the total that I need to get done.
Yep.
So then the remainder needs to get done in the next year. And then it also includes starting to revise the existing ones. So there's a lot of work that I've been thinking about.
Wow.
So moonlighting is going to be
you hadn't shared that number with me up until this point. So
moonlighting is going to be a real deal for this guy.
Yeah, no crap. Holy shit.
Yep. So I don't know how well it will work initially, because it'll be new processes, it'll be new systems, getting acclimated. It's going to be a little slower, but I think once I get it built, we're going to be humming.
Wow. Boy, talk about blowing a big breath of life into your site.
So it's all pen and paper now.
Yeah.
A lot of grinding.
Yep.
But that's what a side hustle is. Shoveling the coal to burn.
Yeah. Yep. You'll be howling at the moon while you're doing it. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. And so a couple of questions. So do you feel like, this might sound kind of like a dumb question, but I'm just going to ask anyways. You think this is the next best action to get activity back on your site? Like you feel like the lack of content has been the result of why your numbers have been going down.
I think
it'll be this increase of content that will bring it back to life.
I think the lack of activity on my site in general is causing Google to say the site is potentially dormant.
Dormant, yeah.
Not sure if the relevancy is there. The content that's on there is old. And when you start to send those signals to Google, they deprioritize your site quickly. So that's been happening over the last year.
Sure. Okay.
So I think it will help. Is it going to be the life-changing thing? No. I think the life-changing thing for the business, quote unquote, is going to be the product development. But that can't happen until I save the site first.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, because I mean, you could have the best products in the world, but if nobody knows your site's there, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Plus, the blog is going to drive a lot of the content that I'm going to provide from a product standpoint. So this new plan that I've built for the blog content I'm developing is intentionally positioned to be multi-purposed for the downloads, the guides, any other kind of production that I'm going to be doing, including a book that I hope to write at some point down the road. This blog is going to be the core of everything that I'm going to be doing and writing and talking about.
So the 58 character traits, that's
still the core.
That's the core, and that's the core of all this content, right? Okay, so the one thing I've been thinking about the most this week, just in general, even the day job, most of the day job, has been audience.
Yep.
And I'm curious, and if this is proprietary information you don't want to share, you don't have to. But for the last 3 years, you've been gathering a tremendous amount of data on individuals who fill out your questionnaire. And so now you've got, I don't know, probably hundreds, right? You got hundreds of emails of people, and you know their top character traits. So you could, as a next step, right, build some sort of email campaign or journey that drips those people this content you're creating. Is that on the radar?
No,
Okay.
nope. I may find out that that's going to have to happen in order for this content to actually gain some teeth, right? For
Yeah,
Google
yeah.
to start paying attention to it. So at least put some signals out there from a email social standpoint, right?
Mhm.
I don't know that yet. TBD. Um, I can tell you that I have made progress in further defining my audience. And I'm going to read it to you as I broke it out for my plan. You ready?
Do it.
U.S. male or female who is 25 to 44 years old. You're going to notice I did not target 18-year-olds and up. Even though most of the people coming to my website today are in middle school or high school.
Okay.
And it's because teachers are drawing their attention to it, or they're finding it on their own. And some conversation along the lines has been looking at their identity, right? Looking at something about themselves. So that's been the primary audience coming to my site. The issue with that is most of them don't have a lot of money laying around to purchase products.
Mhm.
So that is not the ideal customer for my business. It is the ideal customer for readership to some degree,
Mhm.
right? So the core audience I'm focusing on are 25 to 44 years old. Here's why. They are generally curious, interested in learning more about themselves, and they best fit and how they best fit into the world, how to earn a living to support their personal aspirations, and how to function within society, and how to build casual and intimate relationships with others. They are interested in becoming more aware and being authentic to their self. They want to make important life decisions based on their beliefs and values. They believe this will put them into environments and scenarios where they can leverage the most dominant character traits to achieve more and find success. They are also in search of reaching their full potential in their career, personal life, including hobbies and extracurricular activities, and in their personal and professional relationships. They want to gain the most out of the lifetime they have, and live without regret. To live the way that best suits their needs and aspirations. Now, there are two subgroups. 25 to 34-year-olds, these individuals are in the beginning of the building of their own life. They have completed their post-secondary education. They're trying to prove their worth at work and move up at their job to accomplish more and earn more money. They're using the knowledge they gained at school plus knowledge and skills learned on the job, either through training, self-learning, or trial and error. They're either in a committed long-term relationship and have a home and are raising kids, or they are in and out of relationships trying to find the one who they can commit to long term. They believe they know where they want to go, but need help getting there. 35 to 44-year-olds. These individuals are entering or are in the midst of their midlife crisis. They are working a job they may or may not like. They have a home and likely a family. There's a good chance they may be divorced. They are pondering their life choices and whether they made the right choices. They may be assessing whether there are changes required to make things better. They are looking for ways to better learn about themselves and where they want to go, as they themselves have likely changed since they went through this self-reflection process 10 to 20 years ago before they began their life out of school. And they are struggling with what to do next since they're not really where they wanted to be in life at this age. They need a plan to help them get back on track in pursuing what's important to fulfill their own joy, or to find their own fulfillment and joy while maintaining their other external responsibilities of career, family, relationships, and building a future from loved ones. So that's the core audience that I fed into ChatGPT to give me the content that those people are going to want to read about when it comes down to the 58 character traits that True Identity is focusing on.
No difference between male and female in
No.
in that analysis?
I didn't break it out. No.
Cool. Just curious with the demographics that you can see in your site right now, is there a gender skew or no?
I don't collect that data. If I were to go off of assumption based on first names, which,
Yeah.
they're not always real obvious, I would
Yeah.
say it's probably 60-40 female.
Yep. Okay.
So,
Yeah. I was just curious. Yeah. That's yeah. Well, geez, you have a pretty good grip on who the audience is based on that analysis.
I mean, that's where I'm going to try to go with the content, is try to find something to help those people. And my personal goal, and actually how I positioned this was, I basically spoke to myself, which was, I'm a trained professional in marketing, but I'm trying to build a blog, right, about all of this information on psychology, if you will, and how people behave. So I lied and said I gave my aspirations about what I wanted it to be, obviously. So ChatGPT knew that it was writing for somebody who is well qualified in this, right?
Right.
I specifically said, you have built a popular and highly acclaimed blog that covers these topics in depth and receives over 11 million user sessions each month.
You can get away with that now, but eventually AI is going to be smarter than you. They're going to be like,
Yeah,
this guy's
right?
full of shit.
It's fun to actually dream, right?
ChatGPT's like, I just scanned this guy's site 2 days ago. I know that
Who this
true.
dude is, but he isn't doing that, that's for sure.
That's awesome. That's great.
So yeah, time has been spent. I worked on that prompt for probably a solid hour just to kind of whittle it down to what I really wanted ChatGPT to focus on. And I made iterations too. So I mean, I told Bob, I told you, I used deep research, and I'm pretty sure I broke it with this prompt. It only made it through halfway of its calculation. So,
And how long did it run? How long did it run for?
well, again, I think the time I gave you is probably inflated because it kept going back, right? It kept
Yeah.
looping. So I don't know. It didn't actually ever really finish. I had to refresh my page.
That's funny.
So anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm trying to go. I am trying to rebuild this bad boy to where I was going 2 years ago, and it's going to take some work. It's going to take some focus. I've set some very lofty milestones for me to achieve, but I think if I keep grinding, it'll come to fruition.
So you're pretty, you got the bullseye set on this content, and you're letting everything else go right now. It's just that it's heads down on that right now.
Business plan,
Business
website
plan.
cleanup and reposition,
Sure. Yep.
content development, period.
That's it.
That's it for the next 8 months.
Now, I mean, you got to build the foundation up. That's what you're doing. I mean, you already have the foundation there. You're just going to start putting up some heavy duty walls.
It's going to be better equipped.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Because again, I want to reposition the brand. I want to reposition the brand to be downloadable assets. I don't want it to be focused on apparel and tchotchke and swag, even though that'll still be available. That'll just be in addition to.
Yep, got it. So this is breathing some new life into your site, but it's probably also breathing some new life into you.
Can you tell?
Yeah. This is the most you've talked about your moonlighting project in months.
Yeah, I actually spent some time on it, though. It's amazing when you actually dig into it a little bit, how you can, emphasize things about it.
And you showed me earlier, you're prepping for your video project you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So
I've been kind of doing work behind the scenes. That's kind of the theme, I think, for the last couple of months. It's like I haven't been sitting here twiddling my thumbs. I've been
Yeah.
pondering, how the hell am I going to fix what's broken?
Right.
And how am I going to put some initiatives into play to help build this bad boy?
Yep.
So, yeah, I purchased some video recording equipment. So I've got things to set up a little space in my office so I can knock that out, including lighting and tripods and microphones and all the little doodads that you need in order to produce at least somewhat decent content for YouTube. And I'll just rely on my iPhone. So that has always been a strategy for this year. We've talked about that early on. Part of what we're doing today in this video is part of that strategy of us getting on YouTube and being more present. So
Yep.
I'd also like to start building that for myself for True Identity. That will be focused, and I mentioned this, that will be focused more on my own ambition for this year in improving my own life habits, how I'm doing things, and building out of my own character traits. So I think, and this is just based on a conversation that Bob and I had previous to pressing record on this bad boy, is I'll probably focus on building that video recorded content throughout the year. It'll be time applied to it, but I won't be publishing probably until next year.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll finish my project on myself and then figure out how to present that to the public.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's almost like you're kind of eating your own dog food here. You're trying to build on and strengthen your existing character traits on yourself.
Yep, I'm the guinea pig. Remember?
Yeah, you're the guinea pig. Yeah, you're eating your own dog food, and then I've said this before. Your brand is built around, like, you being able to share that story will only strengthen what your brand message is.
I agree. Yeah, you kind of have to walk the walk for this one.
Yeah. Yep. Huh. That's
I would say that for any business, to be honest, though. I mean, if the owner is detached from what the business is doing, I think that it's not going to work.
yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah, no. The devil wouldn't have any luck selling a Bible. So so yeah, I get it.
Good analogy, man.
Yeah. That's what kind of the way I think about it. It's like, so I mean, you can't sell a product or a service if you're not, fully behind it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's been one of my concerns with this whole project, really, is because, look, I'm a marketing guy. Professionally, I am not trained in psychology. I haven't been educated in it. People that do this kind of stuff are doctors, PhDs and psychiatrists, that talk about this stuff. So that's not me. I'm literally something who is so interested in personal growth and self-improvement that it's all I think about, and it's all that I really want to like help people with, including myself. That's why I'm going through my own process. So,
and I mean, while you don't have a formal degree pinned up on your wall, by the nature of working in marketing, though, you have learned how people think, feel, act, like the psychology of marketing. Like,
that's how I built out the audience profile, or not the audience profile, but the profile for ChatGPT before
Yep.
Explaining who they were, right?
Yep.
Act as this person.
Yep. What's funny is I was talking to a college student this a couple of months ago, and said his major was psychology. And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, well, I don't know. I just can't really do anything with a psychology degree unless I go get my master's degree.
Right.
And I said, add a business minor and go into marketing.
Right.
If you want to use your psychology degree and you don't want to go get a PhD and be stuck in some, psychology, I mean, add a business minor.
Yep.
Actually, you probably don't even need that business minor. Just start applying for jobs in marketing.
Go on YouTube and learn the fundamentals of business, and then go apply to jobs. They'll hire you. They want that kind of training and education in marketing.
Yep.
Because it's all about human behavior.
Totally. So yeah, that was just kind of
That's why us two dumb marketers know all about human behavior.
Yeah, and so I mean, obviously, even our backgrounds are very different in marketing. Like I come more from a digital, technical marketing background. You come from the brand side. You studied and learned more of that side of marketing than I did.
Right.
So I have a mad appreciation for it. And yeah, I come from a completely different background than even that. So I just never really thought about human behavior and human, stuff like that. So for me, it's a little bit more, I'm fascinated by it. I just not.
I wouldn't agree entirely with that statement. I think your focus on human behavior was getting somebody to take a clickable action. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
You wanted you're a lead gen guy. You were looking at building funnels and trying to get people from one stage to the next. And what did you need to do that? I mean, that's all behavior.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would argue your statement and say that I think that was heavily involved in how you looked at things.
We're all touching it no matter what.
Human behavior is how humans function.
Yeah.
So, we're all involved in it.
Well, you have quite the path laid out in front of you. You got a lot of work ahead of you.
I do.
You could have a busy
It's a little
summer.
daunting, but it's exciting too at the same time.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I mean, if you break it out in chunks and you
talk to me in a month, I might be screaming uncle, but right now it sounds flipping amazing.
Well, we're going to get an update from you every week, so you don't have a month to hide from this one. You're going to have to let us know where you're going.
Speaking of which, are we gonna? So we decided we're gonna reposition this video series a little bit and focus more on these side hustles. Is that what we agreed on?
Yeah, I definitely think we should give updates on the work we're doing, the directions we're going, because there's a gazillion other people out there that are trying to do the exact same thing, and so I feel like this is an old. It's not a saying. It's just kind of something I've always heard. But like when you hear about people's success stories, you hear about the end of it. You don't hear about the beginning. You don't hear about
when they're finally a success, right?
Yeah, you hear the end result. But and we've all seen pictures of Jeff Bezos in his garage, with a card table, literally a card table, and a huge, gateway computer, in 1998 or whatever it was. I can't remember what year that was, but it's like we've seen pictures of it. I've read some stories about how some of those places are, but you don't hear about that very often,
Right.
And so I think there is definitely some value in listening to two guys who are in the very, very early stages. Even though we've been kind of working on this for a couple of years now, we're still infants in this.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So yes, I think repositioning what we're talking about and then throwing in the marketing nuggets that we're learning along the way. Because if you ask me, the only way you get something off the ground is you got to tell people about it.
Yep.
Which I think will be a big part of what I'm going to talk about, after we're done talking about your venture. One of the things I've learned in the last week, that was kind of like, yeah, you're right.
So, is it a dumb marketing thing?
What's that?
Is it a dumb marketing thing?
It's kind of just a dumb life thing. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a dumb life.
Perfect. It'll fit in well.
Yeah. No, it's kind of the subtitle of my life. So,
all right. So I want to hear more about that. We're going to jump into that. One real quick thing, though.
Yeah. Yep.
Bob and I have decided that, and this has been evolving for quite some time, we are going to commit to sharing updates on our existing side hustles. We are committing to sharing the challenges, the success stories, and we're gonna start shedding more light on our time spent on these. And I'm gonna apologize because I've been holding this up. I'm apologizing to Bob too. Because I haven't spent any time on this, so I haven't been able to contribute to the conversation. Even though we've talked about it a little bit, we've touched on it, and Bob's been pretty good about sharing what he's been working on for the year. But I haven't been able to add to the conversation. That's changing with this new initiative, with this new focus. We're gonna commit time on these video episodes to that specific content, and it will have a very deep marketing connection going forward, which we're going to probably keep the channel the dumb marketers because that's who we are. And we're going to be growing businesses from infancy. We're still at infant stages in my mind. And it's going to require brand, product, and content marketing heavily in order to build. So I think we're not going to be moving away from what we've been discussing. And if there's any other learnings that we bring along the way, we'll share those too. But just if you are watching this and you're wondering, that's what we're going to do going forward.
Yeah, no, and I think out of all the years we've talked and had conversations on Fridays, late Friday afternoons, some of the greatest things I've learned and taken away in value I've gotten is from just talking through these things.
Yeah.
Just talking through where things are. That's what sparked new ideas. And honestly, it's probably has resulted in, a good 50 to 60% of the work I've outputted over the years has come from just talking through these things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
I think, so that's why I'm super glad you're getting back into the game. And I'm sure everybody watching the video goes, thank God we don't have to listen to Bob talk the whole time because that's annoying as
I was thinking, now he's going to be talking too.
like, slow that
I was like, oh man, now they're going to listen to me.
I told you the other day, I'm like, the only bad thing about editing is having to listen to myself talk. I realized, like, why did I talk like 80% of this video? What the hell? So,
oh man, sorry about that.
Look forward to getting the updates for sure.
Yeah, I don't have to sit here and just go, yeah, cool.
Which basically sums up the first 7 episodes of the series. So, yeah, we're all super happy about this. Trust me.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I do like where we're going. I think it's the right way. I think it's the right position.
Absolutely, totally. Yep.
All right. So, without further ado, we want to hear about what you've been working on and some of the realizations that you've come to.
Yeah, this last week was a busy week.
Another one.
Yeah, another one. So no video this last week. I didn't do any video stuff. I've had to work on a couple other things that have been bothering, but it was actually a book that I read that unlocked some things that I know I need to work on. So
do tell.
Okay, so that one of the long-term goals for me, what hopefully will be the last chapter of my professional life, will be me acting in some sort of business coaching role. Okay, so I've kind of in my head had a roadmap on like how I was going to get there. Like I kind of envisioned myself getting into like an operations role at a company, learning that aspect, continuing to watch and follow people who are business coaches. There's 2 here in the Twin Cities that I'm very familiar with. I know personally that I've followed over the years. I've watched what they've done. I've even texted one of them on a regular basis in the last 6 months. We text each other every now and then, and I ask him questions just in general, how he's grown his business, what he's thinking, what he's doing. And I'm just trying to like learn. And I picked up a book a couple of months ago, actually more than a couple of months ago. It was like last summer. I picked up this book. It was on sale on my Kindle. And I got it with every intention of reading it. And it's by Donald Miller. And if you're familiar with the Story Brand framework and the book, Story Brand. That's written by Donald Miller, and he's written lots of other books too. But he has a book, and it's called Coach Builder. And I picked it up last summer. It was on sale. It was when Kindle was running some summer sale, and I picked it up. And again, every time I saw it in my Kindle library, I just wasn't I wasn't moved enough to read it. And I just kind of kept yeah, it's there, but I was reading other things and whatever. So for some reason
before you go to the next phase.
Yep.
Because you said you began this presentation with, at the end of the story, you want to say you coached businesses and leaders to become something, right?
Yep.
And this book is titled what?
Coach Builder.
And you did not emphasize reading that until recently.
Until Monday.
Okay.
No, actually, it was. I started it last Saturday. So yes, last Saturday. So,
why do you think that is?
Okay, so we had a beautiful weather on Saturday, and I decided to take a walk around the lake.
No. Why do you think it took until Monday?
Well, yeah. So I'm getting to that.
You're getting that. I just wanted to make sure the question.
Sorry, I'm a marketer, so I like to tell stories. So
yeah, my bad.
Okay, so last Saturday, nice day here in Minnesota. Thought I'm gonna take a walk, and note that the time of these things is weird because we had just got done recording last Friday's episode.
Yeah, we were talking about how the timing of all that was weird.
I had just gotten done editing it late that night. And when we have these conversations, sometimes I get sparks of just enthusiasm around what we're trying to do, right? So early Saturday morning, I'm like, I need something to listen to. So let me jump into my Kindle here and see if there's anything that I can, listen to or whatever. Because I like Kindle has the ability to read some of your books. So this one wasn't enabled with that, but however, it was on Audible. And I thought, you know what? It's time. I should really read this book. I bought it. I'm feeling jazzed about the direction I'm going right now. I feel a lot of enthusiasm, and let's see what this book is all about. So I downloaded on Audible and started to play it on my walk. And he breaks it out into 8 basically things that you need to do. If you want to be a coach, a business coach, here's the 8 things you need to do. Here's the 8 steps you need to do. And I didn't want to stop walking. I wanted to finish that. If I would have had the option to walk for 7 hours and 41 minutes on Saturday, I would have done it. I shit you not. Okay. I did not stop listening to it because immediately I was hooked on. Well, there was just a whole bunch of it was a mixture between hey, here's just kind of here's the things you have to do, not the hard things, but kind of the soft things, and then here's the hard things you have to do. What I mean by hard is the actual you need to sit down and do this work to produce this thing that then you can sell to a client, right? But that's actually where it starts. Is the first step is this is the aha moment I had. This is on Saturday morning. The first lesson is basically, look, start telling people you're a coach. Okay. Start telling people I'm a business coach. I'm a business coach. And I can't remember now because so much stuff has gone through my head, but he had a good reason for this. It was kind of a psychological reason of you can't be something unless you start talking like you're that thing.
Yep.
And immediately I flashed back to, I think I shared this TikTok with you a while back, the Olympian lady.
Mhm.
Did I share that with you?
Mhm.
So I can see if I can pull the link and put it in the description of this video, but I love that video. I saved it. Basically, the premise of it is a young track athlete is telling herself in the video, in the beginning of the video, I'm an Olympian. I'm an Olympian. I'm going to be an Olympian. I'm an Olympian. And every day she goes on and she records herself saying, I'm an Olympian.
Yep.
The video ends with her at the Olympic trials with her holding a big bouquet of flowers and a US flag around her. And she's saying, I am an Olympian. I told you. Power of the tongue. I told you I was going to be an Olympian, and here I am. I did it.
Yep.
And his message is kind of similar. It's kind of this idea of like, you know, you can call it manifesting or whatever you want to call it, but ultimately is like you can't be something unless you believe you can be that thing.
That's right.
And so I was like, so he's like, just start telling people you're a coach. You might not be there yet, but start showing up like that. Start acting like that. Start telling people, yeah, I'm a coach. I'm a business coach. Even if you don't have any clients, you don't have any, you know, you're not even actually doing it yet, but it's what is on your roadmap. It's what you're building towards. Then start
Yep.
telling people that's what you do.
There you go.
And I was like, wow, okay, that was like a smack across the face. That was like a big punch, right? I was like, okay, this is, wow, that's very true. You know, I should start doing that. Because otherwise you're just kind of dodging it, you know? Just kind of, are you really it or are you not? You know, it's like, I don't
You're not
know.
walking the walk, right?
Yeah, it just kind of felt like, yeah, it makes complete sense. It was kind of like an aha for me. And then, like I said, immediately I went back and thought of that video, that TikTok. I went back and watched it again because I have it saved because I that video blows me away every time I see it. And so I went back and I watched that video and I was like, same thing, same concept. I should tell people. And even saying the words of I want to be a coach. I want to be a coach. I want to be a business coach. And that's what I'm working on doing. And here, go to my site and see the work I'm putting in to become that thing, right?
There is a direct difference in saying you want something versus you are something. So say you are, it is far better at rewiring your thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that in essence was the message in the first chapter of the book, which I thought was amazing.
Plays right into True Identity because this is basically what I am going to try to help people do.
Absolutely. Yep. That's right. Yeah. Here's your be that.
Right?
Be that. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And sometimes, you know, you have to be told, you know, 100 times before something actually makes sense. And I know I've heard this thing before, and I've heard it in different forms. And for some reason on Saturday, it just kind of hit me. Just kind of hit me on like,
it is a real tool, though. It is a real thing that people can do to change.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's so fundamental that it seems silly, but it works.
Yep. Totally. So then the rest of the book, and I won't go through all 8 sections, but I think what's always tough is when you're trying to build something, you know this, sometimes it's hard to like, where do I start?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know like what makes sense to start. And what I think, and this isn't a pitch for the book, although if you want to be a business coach, I think you should have this book. I'm already gearing up to listen to it a second time.
You should reach out to them and say, "Hey, we talked about your book today."
Yeah. Oh, I will. I'll tag him in the
description.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm going to gear up for a second run because the thing about listening to it the first time was I wasn't taking notes. So I just was absorbing it. But now I'm going to go back and I got to take notes on this because he gave some like very direct. So like, for example, then the next section, he talks about products. You got to have products to build. Okay. Because the products are what's going to be the lead magnet. You're going to build credibility with people and stuff. So then, you know, that's easy to hear. Like, oh, you got to build products. I give the guy credit. He actually gave a list of like hundreds of product ideas, all different kinds of products. This type of, right, you could do this, you could build this. This could be a PDF download. This could be a webinar you could do. This could be a, some sort of a template you build, and he was giving specific examples. And I was like, yeah, like again, things that have just crossed my mind. But until I heard some guy randomly on a Audible book start listing off, hey, I'm going to tell you 50 things right now you could build today that are, that you set up as lead magnets and you start to build credibility with people, blah, 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 right? So he talks about that. Then he says, okay, now your next step is you need to start putting your audience together. You need to start building your CRM out. You got to start putting these people into buckets so that you can then tell people, hey, I'm a coach and I have these products and they're free. You can have them for, he said, some you give away as lead magnets, some you sell. But you're not in the business of selling products. You're in the business of selling coaching. But you're going to use these products as your gateway, basically your gateway drug to get into that, right? So he's like, build your products, then build out your CRM. Make sure you got your list ready. Make sure you've got your he gave very specific like email journeys to like put people in, like very, very specific email journeys. That was one of the chapters further down. Then he walked through like, here's everything you need. Here's how you should have your website structured. This is how the best coaches, this is how they structure their website. These are the pages they have. This is the content they have, blah, blah. Then he walked through a whole section on emails and building email journeys and doing all. So some of it was very like, not theory, but just more of like, tell people you're a coach, all the way down to here is a very specific email journey that runs for 6 weeks and achieves this goal. And if you build it like this is what it'll do for you, that kind of thing. So it's a very wide range of everything from, the soft stuff to the very tactical stuff, which was very interesting. And then he talked a little bit about scaling your products, and then starting to get into the actual like financials of like how you grow the business, like how you structure selling webinars and doing coaching calls and doing in-person versus online and how much time it takes to do this and what you should charge for it. And then, hey, here's how you build a $250,000 coaching business. And here's how you build a $500,000 coaching business. And here's how you get to $1 million. And then when you get to $1 million, you need to start thinking about hiring people. And then maybe you want to bring on additional coaches who work under your brand and all these kind of things. Like he kind of did a really good job laying it out. One of the business coaches I mentioned here in the Twin Cities, and I won't say his name, I know he's a big Donald Miller fan. And this is how he
builds his
business. I know the two, the two I'm referring to. It's the first one. The first one that I had exposure to. Yeah, he's a huge Donald Miller fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, he was huge. And so now I'm looking at him. Okay. And now I don't know if he read this book.
Are you looking at him?
Yeah, I've been watching what he's been doing since I met him in 2018.
Right.
And look at where he is now. He's built a franchise-based coaching business.
Yep.
Okay. So first he was this isn't really how they referred to him, but he was kind of like a franchisee of a framework operating system, EOS.
He was an independent contractor.
Independent certified
representative.
Yeah. Sure. To now flipping that, building his own version of that, and now he's at the point where he's certifying coaches.
Yep.
So he's basically done what Gino Wickman did with EOS.
That's exactly right.
So now and Don Miller talks about like eventually if you want to get to that point, you totally can. And here's kind of the roadmap to do it. But then what's really interesting is in the book he says, but you know what though? You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And you know what? I'm almost telling you not to. In fact, in one part of the book, he kind of says that. He kind of says, if your goal is to just because the point he was making there was, look, when you start doing things like that, you add to the complexity of your business.
Yeah, I was going to say you're not going to do coaching anymore.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly what he's making. Now you're managing coaches. Mm-hmm. So you're getting away from what you really want to do. But I think what he's getting at is like if you want a nice, career where you're self-managing yourself and you're building something on your own and you're doing your craft that you really want to do, build it up to this level and you're good.
Yep.
You'll be successful. You'll have a good, work-life balance. You'll be able to do the things you love and enjoy, and yet you'll still be able to coach and,
Hmm.
do what, do this career you want to do.
Right.
So he kind of talks through that, and then the last section he talks about. I wrote down the 8. He talks about goal setting, and then he talks about creating or joining a coach community. So he kind of has these steps. He lays them out. I finished that audiobook in 2 days. I mean, I just devoured it.
3.5 hour walks.
Yeah. I just devoured it. Every time I was in the car, it was
Sure.
on. Like,
Yep.
yeah, it was pretty intense. I just wanted to get through it. And like I said, I'm going to go through it again. But what's more important is I started putting these things into action.
You already have.
Yeah. So I already have an email queued up. So I moved email platforms this last week. I think I told you that.
You did.
I was with Squarespace in their email campaign software. I've moved away from there and I'm back to MailChimp.
So you're saving money on your email membership because you were paying for that and that expired. Now you're moving to a free platform with MailChimp Intro, right?
Yep. And I should be able to be on the free for a while because I'm still under their $500 kind of threshold.
500 subscribers.
Yep. So I'm on the free plan for now, which is fine. Totally cool. But I've got my first email queued up to go next week. And the email is doing step 1.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like the way he's laid it out, you're following step 1 right now?
Yes.
That a boy.
So
you're actually following somebody's model. What the F?
I know, this is crazy. Well, it gets better. So I wrote this email, and the email is it's not salesy or anything. It's a story, and it's not long, but it's a story of like, hey, look, I'm a coach.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. Are you?
Yeah.
Am I a subscriber on your list? I should be, right?
You are. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
The subject line.
You didn't delete me yet?
No, I did not. No, but when I start reaching that point where I got to start paying for MailChimp,
yeah, gone. Right. I'll be gone. Right. I get it. Yep.
You're off the list. No, there's probably some other people I could boot from the list.
Hey, just let me know when you're at $4.99, man. I'll ditch it.
No, I'm going to try to keep that list really clean. I'm going to try to keep it clean. So inactives or, bounces, I'm going to clean those suckers out of there right away. But
the good thing about email platform for you and this model is you don't need a lot of subscribers, really. No. So
that was actually that's actually one of the big parts of when he was talking about the financials of running a coaching business. The way he was laying out some of the pricing and what some coaches make, you don't need a whole lot.
No.
You don't need, you need 7 or 8.
You get 100 people to open your emails, which is 20% open rate of your 500, and you get 20% of them to be continuously purchasing from you, and you're good.
Yeah, totally. I think the subject line of this first email, even I can't remember exactly how I wrote it. I'll have to look at it again, but it's something along the lines of, I'm supposed to tell you, I'm going to tell you something I'm supposed to tell you something I wasn't going to tell you, or something like that. I can't remember how I worded the subject line, but it's basically the essence of it is like, look, here's what I'm trying to build. Here's where I'm going. This is what I am. And the premise of the email is the reason why I'm doing it is I want you to keep me in mind, because when you need this, I want to be there, top of mind. Like I want to be there when you think of you need that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm fumbling the words now, but the email it's short, it's succinct, but it's doing what he's telling me to do. Now, it's a small list, so I'm not doing any major damage.
Follow the plan, man. See what happens.
following the plan. Then this week I started building a product. And I'm
Was
done
that
with
step
it.
2?
That's step 2. And I'm done with it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. It's a template. It's a
All right, hold on. This is new information here.
Yeah,
Okay, let's put it in a Bob Stanky story for our audience.
I've been busy. So Monday, I wrote that email and I thought, I'm not going to send it yet. I'm going to hold on to it for a week, think about it, but it's ready to go, whatever. And it'll go out. It's just a matter of I want to feel things out here. I just read this book. I was on a super high and I'm just like, slow down. Don't hit send yet. Just put it in the queue and let's go. So then I moved on to step 2, starting to build a product. And I built a template that's in Excel. It's a very, very simple template. It's a tracker tool for organizing your business processes and systems. It's meant for a leadership team at a small to mid-sized business. And I built it and it's ready to go. So then I put that to the side and I started working on my list. Who are the people that I want to try to attract to get this thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I built a very, very simple CRM. I'm not using any free ones or anything. I'm using a very, very simple one that I built. It's this is a real simple little database where I'm just tracking lists. I'm going to track lists of people and organize them and everything. And I started looking at, well, first of all, I mean, I've got my email list, but they are not necessarily my target audience. I don't even know really who they are. All I have is an email address. These are people who subscribe to my newsletter.
Yep.
He's saying in the book, it's like, you got to start going after, your target, who's going to buy your services, right? So then that forced me to start going down the road of like, okay, who's my target? Who do I want to talk to? I knew right away it was small businesses, but then I narrowed it down even more. And I said, what business model do I really like? Not necessarily industry. Some coaches focus on a specific industry, right? The 2 coaches that I was referring to earlier, the Twin Cities coaches, they're not industry based. They work across multiple industries.
Yeah.
But both of them have very specific things. Like the first guy, he's really a sales guy.
Yep.
So his kind of backbone has always been like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to help you fix your sales team.
Yep.
And then, oh, by the way, I coach your whole organization.
Who's the other focus? The other guy.
The focus of the other guy is turnaround.
Oh,
so
I would have guessed that actually. Interesting.
Yeah. So, So the second guy, his big thing is, I'm going to come in, your business is struggling. I'm going to come in, I'm going to help you turn things around. He always talks about himself as like a turnaround guy. Okay, so I'm still spinning ideas in my head, but let me tell you something that I'm very familiar with and has been pretty much almost 20 years of my career. Membership model businesses.
Yep.
I had my first exposure to the membership model when I was at Lifetime Fitness.
Yep.
And I was very intrigued by it. And I've told people this before, but one of the reasons that Timberwolves hired me was because of my membership experience, because they wanted to start getting away from just selling tickets to selling membership packages.
Yep.
So they said, hey, you worked at Lifetime, you understand membership packages. Come help us figure out how to sell memberships.
Yep.
From a marketing standpoint. Then I went to go work for the company.
Sounds very familiar to a text that I just sent you recently.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So then I worked 6 years at the company you're currently at.
Yep.
Where it's a membership model.
Right.
Now I work in the association industry where it's a membership model. So I literally, Luke, have spent 15 years in membership models.
Yep. And you could even expand that to franchise models if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Yeah. But no, so I haven't pinned this down yet, but this is just me brainstorming this week. What if my thing is I help small businesses start or grow their membership model? Now I'm fumbling the words around a little bit, but you see what I'm getting at. Like
I see where you're going.
That's what I could be known for. Like,
Yep.
hey, I have all this experience. I've read all these books. I've worked at all these companies that have big membership models. I understand how to structure a membership, how to sell a membership, how to market a membership. I know about churn and attrition and retention models. And I have all these tools and templates and all this kind of stuff. It's like, and I become known as that.
Yep.
As an example.
Yep.
And when I was sitting Wednesday night thinking to myself, like, I didn't have imposter syndrome. It wasn't that, but it was like, do I know enough to be able to use that as like an angle? And then I was like, yeah, I actually do. Like, I actually have
career for the most part.
I've read more material and have worked in more scenarios in real businesses.
Mm-hmm.
The first Twin Cities coach, we'll call him coach number 1. He was a national sales director. He was a VP of sales. He worked in sales. Sales was his thing.
That's why he focused on it. He knew it.
So then he went to coaching. He used sales as his hook.
Yep.
I'm going to come in. I'm going to help fix. I'm going to do sales training for your company.
Yep.
And he sold it. And he sold it so well that then he became a coach of the overall business.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, it's one angle that could be taken.
I think it's the most logical.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. If you want to niche down and you want to tell I think I told you this the other day. I'm building everything using the StoryBrand framework.
Good.
So
sounds like it's working so far as like giving you tangible things that you believe are necessary, right?
Yep. So Thursday night I started working on. So yesterday night I started working on my landing page for this product. So I started building out the website component of.
I was going to ask you about that.
And I'm building the landing page using the StoryBrand framework.
Cool.
So, and I'm about half done. I hope to finish it this weekend. The only reason I want to try to finish it this weekend is because I wanted to include it in that email, possibly of, hey, here's a free tool I have. Go check out on my website and grab it for free.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was going to see if I could get this done first before I hit send on that email. It's not a requirement, but I want to see if I can get there. I'm about a third done with the page. But I'm following the exact, pain point. Mentor comes in, so your hero has a pain.
I got to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here comes the big analogy most people talk about is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Skywalker is the hero. He has this, and I'm not really a huge Star Wars guy, so I don't know the exact framework of what Star Wars is all about. I was more of a Star Trek person, but I know he has some sort of thing he needs to overcome.
That's all it is.
Then he meets the mentor, who is the little green guy. What's his name?
It's literally my True Identity circle framework.
It is, yeah, it is.
Process, right?
What's Yoda?
Yoda.
Mm-hmm. And Yoda teaches him. He trains him. He
builds his skill set.
Yeah, builds his skill set. He trains him. He teaches them, right? And then he shows them the process. Here's the process. That's like step 30 in the StoryBrand. Is here's the process you're going to go through. And then step 4 is here's the reward you're going to get when you win, or you achieve this thing. And so there's a framework of exactly to lay that out. That's how I'm building the landing page.
Actually, the reward is overcoming the challenge, and then then you actually get rewarded.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And so I'm building the landing page. It talks exactly through that same thing. So, actually, if you don't mind, can I just throw something up on the screen real quick?
I am 100% yours, Chief. Hey, I got 2 questions.
I know we're running up against the clock here, but
I'm not watching the clock. You told me not to.
Yep. Go ahead.
2 things you noted. One, you said you wanted to go back and take notes, right? So the first thing you
Yeah,
said that I thought was very intriguing from a true identity standpoint, because it's programming your brain, right? Is I am a coach. I think
Yep.
that is very, very applicable to anybody who wants to become whatever. If you just tell yourself that on an ongoing basis, you will start to see your brain begin taking that on. And all that you look at, all that you do, you will start to reevaluate things, because your brain is triggered. It's actually, I forget the word that this individual used. It's not telling you what to do, it's setting you up for you to do what you're going to do, right? So it's not actually giving you the direction to do something, it's just giving you the framework, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you start telling yourself that you're this, it's telling your brain to start thinking like that before you do anything.
Uh-huh.
So it's a very important seed planter. All right. So the other one that you had said was taking notes.
Yeah.
Notes is a way to put the touch sensation in with your cognitive memory. So
Yeah.
by doing that process, you're again elevating the memory, the recognition, the application. You're thinking about those things beyond just reading the words or listening to it audibly.
Yeah.
So again, it's a reinforcement of whatever it is you're trying to train yourself. So
Mhm.
the two very applicable skills that you were just doing haphazardly because it works for you,
Yep.
that are proven to work across whatever things you try to do.
Yep.
The other thing
Totally.
you had mentioned that, and this is a personal thing, so don't take offense to this because I'm doing it too and I'm trying to change it.
No, go ahead.
You had referenced the I am a coach statement as the soft stuff. To me,
Mhm.
in looking at it from a true identity standpoint and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to drive, that to me is the hard stuff, because that is literally training your brain to do what you want it to do. I think the soft stuff is the skills, because then you're just putting it into practice. The hard part is getting that brain set the right way so you go to do the skills.
Yep.
I'm doing
You're
a flip on that. I mean, that's just, I've always thought that. I've always scoffed at people saying, like, you know, we like empathy in this office. It's a soft skill. No, that's not a soft skill, dude. That is hard. That is hard
It's
for
hard.
people to put into play all the time. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that to the attention, because
Yeah.
I'm going to
That's
start talking about that differently.
yeah. That's legit. That's legit. Yep. And
So
so I'm gonna turn the tables on you, and I don't mean to poke at you here,
do it.
but you said it on this call, and you have said it in the past.
Mhm.
You always fall back on the I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a degree in psychology. You're
Mhm.
right. You don't. But I know I've told you in the past, it doesn't mean you don't have the right not to talk about this stuff.
True. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So I think there's nothing wrong with leading with, what you bring to the game as opposed to what you don't bring to the game. And we're both jealous of this because
Yep.
I've said there's times like, well, I'm not a business coach. I want to be a business coach someday, but I'm not now.
Right.
I even caught myself last week telling someone, another a business coach and facilitator who I got to be a part of a facilitation. He did a 2-day facilitation, and I thought he did an amazing job. And I went up to him and I introduced myself and I told him, I said, when I grow up, I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
And now, a week after I told him that, then I listened to this audiobook, and the guy's basically saying, don't say that.
Right.
Say I am a business coach.
Right.
And I want to perform like you're performing. I want to do what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's just turning that dial. So
I think that's a big deal, dude. I mean, think about all the people that are probably struggling with that. I'll say this. My own perception comes from a conversation that I had with family members who are in the medical field.
yeah, yep,
When I presented True My Identity to them originally, it was like the first conversation I had with them. I told them I was going to do this survey, right? That I'm doing now, the assessment that I have on the site for free.
Mhm.
he asked me specifically, my brother-in-law, and I love him to pieces, and I knew he would come with this because he's a surgeon, right? He asked, are you going to get it certified, medically certified through the psychology community? And I said, no, I'm going to try to keep this, pretty grassroots. So there is a stigma, I think, when it comes to healthcare, medical kind of things, if there isn't certification or licenses or whatever it is. And look, there's a place for that. There is, because we need trained professionals to do this stuff. I'm openly saying I'm not that. But I think that there is enough out there to learn from, and I can bring pieces of that to my business to share with others.
Yep, sure. And if you devote years and years and years, they say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something or something like that.
Yeah.
If you put years and years and years in, even though you don't have the piece of paper that allows you to sign a prescription,
right,
doesn't mean you don't have as much knowledge as anybody else.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just, last thing on the story brand thing. I've been all about the story brand stuff lately because where I work uses story brand.
You got to dig deeper into it. It's very intriguing to me.
And we just launched this web page. This is one of our pages inside of our site where we story branded the page. And so you can see here the first section, even the image shows you there's a problem. You're struggling to juggle your inventory. You're struggling with sales. You're not growing, So there we're framing the problem.
Yep.
Then, here we are. We're here to help you. We're your guide. I think StoryBrand calls it a guide. We're your guide. Yep. That's the Yoda. Yep. The guide. Right. And then here's the process. Here's how we transform your dealership in terms of and so we've been using StoryBrand at work, which is why it's been like front and center for me.
Sure.
And why I continue to be thinking about it. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to replicate that framework on my site, and I'm going to try to use that as a lead magnet for some of my free products. I'm also going to use it as a framework for some of my landing pages for coaching opportunities and things like that. So
I like it.
Yeah. And so that led me up to last night. I continue to work on that. And that was my last week in a nutshell.
Well, you didn't really work out much, did you?
No, it's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet.
That's awesome. I love where you're going with this. And didn't you sign up or look to sign up for something too?
Yeah. So I got a couple of things boiling there. So Maxwell Leadership, which I've heard of them, but I don't know enough to know. I don't know. It's weird when you read some of these academies or leadership companies. You're just kind of I don't know what this is. So I signed up for a call with them. I had to cancel. It was supposed to be Wednesday. I ran into a problem that I had to address.
Not very good story brands.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I ran into a problem, so I had to reschedule that. So I do have a call with Maxwell Leadership. Of course, they're trying to sell their membership and certification to be a leadership coach. They specialize in leadership coaching. So I'm poking there. I also am I have a call next week to explore being certified in StoryBrand.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, I have
Man,
that
you're
call
not messing around on this.
Not messing around. Now,
this is very unlike Bob to go all in on something, by the way.
Very true. So I signed up for a call. I went to their website. I signed up to talk to somebody. They're obviously going to try to sell me a certification.
Right.
Course and certification. So that's fine. And I've got two other things that I'm signed up for and I'm getting emails about, but I haven't scheduled any calls. One is Michael Hyatt's coaching certification.
Okay.
I like Michael Hyatt, and so I thought I would explore it. So I signed up. I'm getting his newsletter and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And then I am starting to explore scaling up. in
Really?
terms of
All right.
to be a scaling up coach, only because coach number 2, Twin Cities coach number 2, recommended I go that route.
Well, and I know you like that one too.
Yeah, and I told him I would look into it, but I was also completely honest with him and told him it's a lot of money.
A lot of money, right?
A lot of money. And so but I said I would explore it. One of my angles though is I kind of like the fact that I know all of those frameworks, but I'm not tied to one. I always felt like coach number 1, he was with one company and that was the thing he was trying to always pitch.
Mm-hmm.
That was the framework he was always trying to drive home. And then coach number 2, he actually is part of like 3 or 4 different ones. And so he kind of hops back and forth. Like he talks a lot about scaling up, but he also Metronomics and Great Game of Business are the other 2 that he's a member of.
Mm-hmm.
I always like that because he would pull a little bit from each one.
Sure.
So I was kind of going off that. It was like, hey, I don't mind knowing all the frameworks and not being tied to anyone. And basically be able to go into a business and say, look, I think your business would be perfect with EOS. I think your business would be perfect with scaling up. I think your business would be great with Metronomics. I think there's a huge benefit in that too, because each business is different and those frameworks are all different.
Yeah, I can see how that would offer more opportunity because, to your point, not each model works for each business.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I think there might be some benefit in being like, hey, look, I'm knowledgeable and skilled in all of these, but I'm also not financially invested in any of them because I've always felt like, it's kind of like the whole, having a sponsor, right? Or not a sponsor, but, having like kind of like, you got to wear their brand or you got to like, if you're with EOS, they expect you to be EOS.
Right.
And everything you got to sell is EOS. You can't really look at anything else, right? So it's like, I don't know if I want to be tied to that. I think I'd rather say, hey, look, I'm coming in as a neutral. Because if you sit down and have a free consultation with an EOS implementator, they're trying to sell you on EOS. They ain't trying to sell you anything else.
No.
If you sat down with a coach for the first time and you laid out your business and the coach said, hey, look, there's a bunch of different frameworks that might work, but here's what I think is the best one and why.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not necessarily certified, but I can tell you I have all the experience in this. I've done this. Here's some other things I can show you, but I could help you implement that.
I mean, like everything else, there's probably pros or cons to both, right? To be specialized in one or to be a little more diverse, have multiple solutions. I think there's pros and cons to both.
There absolutely is. Yep. And it's just which one do I? And hey, maybe down the road, maybe I do get certified with scaling up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying like right now there's some financial barriers there.
Yeah, I don't think that's a requirement. So, do it if you want later.
Absolutely not. So this
Besides,
facilitator
coach right now, you don't need certifications.
This facilitator coach that I talked to last week, this new guy, said something very interesting. I told him, I said, I was joking. I said, when I grow up, and he's not much older than me. We're probably the same age. But I was like joking. I said, when I grow up, I'm hoping that the last thing I do professionally is do what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
He looked at me and he wasn't smiling or anything. He looked at me. He goes, you know when the best time to start is, right? He said, now.
Yep.
And he just left it.
You know that. You know that.
He just left it hang there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to say at first. And so he just kind of had this awkward moment of silence. And then he followed it up with kind of the mic drop moment, which was, doesn't mean you can't start working on it now. And instead of having this dream of something that you want to have 10 years from now.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I got to get back to facilitating this meeting. I was like, okay. It's like, okay, thanks for disrupting my whole world right now. Yeah. Thanks for messing with my head and then walking away.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's kind of like that. I was like, he's right. I mean, not doing anybody any damage by building
this is not. Yeah, this is not a secret.
Yeah.
everybody who says that they want to do something, the best time is always to start now. Always.
I know. Yep.
No matter
But we
what it
get in
is.
our own head. We get in our own head, and I have obligations to, you know, my employer, my job that I like, and so it's just a matter of how do you build some of this stuff on your own time? How do you sell some of it? How do you tell people what you want to do? And then you never know what doors will open after that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I hold on to the tightest, I think, even when things are terrible, I still try to find time to do my own thing in some way, even if it's not really what I should be doing. I'll find time to do something, right? Just because what I hold on to the tightest is I don't have it all figured out. I don't. I never ever will.
Mhm.
So to think that I can't start now doesn't make sense
Yeah.
because I'm not going to know any more by waiting until I really try it and do it. You know,
Yep.
'cause that's the only
Totally.
way I'm going to learn.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Without
So
a
I
doubt.
hold on to that really tightly, and
Yep.
I hold on to my own ignorance, even though it gets in the way sometimes.
Mhm.
Right? I talk myself out of doing things because of my ignorance or
Yeah.
my
Yep.
thought of my ignorance. Right?
Sure. Yep.
So, but I mean, it's always the answer. If you're
Yep.
ever thinking about doing something, it's always the answer. No better time than now.
And I mean, look, it takes a long time to build trust with people, build your list, keep re-emphasizing who you are, what you do, so that eventually they will say, yes, I want to hire you. Yes, I want to do this,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And so if you wait, that's just you're missing another day of trying to get in front of somebody
Yep.
and
Exactly.
tell them who you are. Which was again the premise of the whole first part of the book was like people aren't going to know what you are unless you tell them,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
So yes, I am.
I gotta
I'm a
start saying I'm a business owner. I'm a business owner. I gotta start
yeah.
saying I'm a
I'm a
founder.
small business. Say I'm a small business owner.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a small
I gotta
business owner.
start
You
saying
are. You are.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. You totally are. So why would you not tell people that? You know,
I don't.
it's almost like we shouldn't even really call them side hustles.
Right. Yeah.
You literally are running a small business,
Small
and
business.
granted, it's during off hours of normal business times, but
Right.
still have it. Your business license with the state of Minnesota doesn't say,
Right.
"Oh,
Side hustle part-timer.
this business only operates at night." You know,
Exactly.
it doesn't say
Right.
that. The Secretary of
Right.
State of Minnesota doesn't, you know,
Yeah.
doesn't
No.
ask you like, "Is this a side hustle?"
When I was
No.
filing my taxes, they didn't give a shit about how much time I was spending on it.
Oh, no. They said you're a small business.
That's right.
So I'm just
Yep.
saying. Anyways, all right. Well, hey, why don't we put a bow on this sucker? This will now officially be our longest episode ever, which is great.
Yeah.
I
We,
love
we went a ways. Yep.
that's
We
right.
dug
Last
off a lot though. We talked about a lot.
on Wednesday night when I was working, I was watching a live broadcast of a YouTuber that I follow, and his stream went 3 hours.
Yeah, I
3
mean,
hours.
this is odd for YouTubers. I mean, some people will go on for hours.
Yeah,
So
no, this is nothing. It's all good.
yeah.
So, all right.
I think this is a good one
closing-
though because we're kind of changing gears a little bit, and I think we needed to reset a little bit. And I'm glad that we're doing this now. I like this.
I
It's
love
it's
it.
kind of like we're back to where we were. You know, when we would have our offhanded conversations and
Mhm.
dig into our things. This is more of how we would riff. This is more of what it was about. So
This is it right here. This is it right here.
it's like the OG right here.
It's OG. All right. Well, hey, I'll put
Sign us
our
off, brother. What does everybody need to do for getting more info from us?
like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, go back and watch it again so our watch time hours increase. Like, I don't know, whatever. Tell your friends.
Oh my
Definitely
gosh.
visit trueidentity.com, visit
Yes.
bobsteggy.com, which
Yeah.
are our businesses that we own.
Yes, we are founders and business owners of small
Right.
businesses.
That's right. And yeah, that'd be a great place to start.
Thank you for the time, Mr. Stanky. It has been a pleasure as always.
It has been. I loved it tons.
Peace out, brother.
All right, peace out. I'm going to hit end recording. See you later. See you on the flip
Okay,
side.
thanks for signing off that way.
Bye.
Bye.